Hello, welcome back to the 410. My name is Adrian Host. We're back on a Taco Tuesday on the 410. Of course, we got to talk about this nightmare with the O's. It continues. Of course, we got to talk about them. They back up today. And then, my goodness, the Western Conference Finals on tap tonight. Big game. I got to make my selection here. Can't wait any longer, so I got to get that to you. Before we do any of that, Cahill Electrical on standby for any electrical needs, whether they're big, small. You let them know exactly what you need. They're on the way with the best service and best price in town. All right, y'all. Of course, like I just said, we got the Orioles on tap. They're definitely on this losing streak. It's a nightmare. My head is pounding every day just thinking about it. Last night, we had Dean Krim on the mound. He pitched flawlessly going in through the 6th inning, 7th inning. All hell broke loose there for Dean. They scored 3 runs. And then, of course, I don't know why in the world we didn't make a pitching change there. The man went all the way through the game unscathed. Then he started unraveling. It takes a blind man to see. You need to change the pitcher and see what we can do there. If they got his timing or whatever, baseball is about timing, then we need to change the pitcher. But once again, we're getting ready to figure out who we got to bring into the door to run this show down here, because it sure ain't going to be the third base coach. I'm sorry, man, but I just seen what you did the other night and the Nationals the day before that, and I'm not impressed. So, of course, we got to find some help there, right there in Baltimore. My goodness, we have a job opening in Baltimore. Where's Buck Showalter when you need him, bro? So, of course, tonight's game, Keegan Aiken, he's on the mound. His pitching ERA is not that bad there, right a little bit above 3. Hopefully he can stay right there tonight. He's going to need some support here from the bats. Jackson Holiday, he's already batted. I'm sitting here looking at the ticker live while I'm talking to you here. I wanted to wait so I can watch this just in case they hit a grand slam in the first inning. I can get all my excitement back here. But, of course, I'm going to roll with the boys. I'm checking them out here. It looks like we already done ran through a couple batters already. We just can't seem to put it all together here and put one together to get that dub. So hopefully tonight that'll get done here. Not spending a whole lot of time on the O's today. Like I said, I'm just getting my voice back. I'm not even getting started on that. All right, let's get into the NBA. Where, of course, we got that big game going down tonight. You got Oklahoma at home against Minnesota, walking in the door, Ant in the gang, ready for war here. You know they were in the Western Conference Finals last year, so they already tasted that. They know what it's about. But I'm going to tell them, OKC is a different beast when you're talking about playing there at home. And, of course, OKC, they only lost 14 games all year. They've been marching strong. They look really good against the MVP or the ex-MVP. I don't know how you want to say that, or however you want to call it. But Joker, he definitely was putting on an MVP performance the whole series there. So I sat here and I waited. I said, Adrian, you got to make a pick. You got to tell them exactly who the 410 is getting to the finals here. So with all that being said, I'm going to break this down for just a second before I give you the pick. Of course, like I said, both teams, they have a chance to get here to the finals. They both had very great seasons here. OKC almost an historic season. But I'm going to sit here and break it down for you like this. Top dogs there for both teams. You got SGA, who should be the MVP this year. You have Ant, who should be the face of the league. Of course, if he get his act together, but he doesn't want that, so he says. But I think he'll clean it up as he gets a little older. He'll understand. But you have both of them going head-to-head here. All I can say is I think they're going to cancel each other out. So let's take SGA and Ant out of the equation here for just a second. And I'm just going to go down the line here in order of size here just so it makes sense. Now, OKC, they can flip-flop a few players and they're starting 5. But I'm just going to call a couple names out that I feel like are their starters. Of course, you got Rudy Gobert. He's going to be going up against not really Chet Holmgren here. It's going to be Isaiah Hartenstein, essentially. Even though Chet's the tall out of the two, the banger is Hartenstein. He's definitely going to put in some work there. But he's undersized against Gobert. So those two, they pretty much essentially do the same thing on the court. So I'm giving the edge to Minnesota with Rudy Gobert, even though his offense is something to be desired. So is Isaiah Hartenstein. So when you start talking about who's the bigger force down low, it's going to be the taller, longer Rudy Gobert. I'm giving that edge to them. Next up, we have Chet Holmgren going up against Julius Randle. That's going to be the matchup, so to speak. Of course, Chet, he likes to stretch the floor with a few threes. Julius Randle likes to stretch the floor with a few threes. These teams pretty much match up almost evenly when you sit here and break them down. the advantage here, Chet's been playing really, really well on defense. And of course, Julius Randle, he's been playing well as late. But I trust Chet and what he does on the court a little bit more than what I trust Julius Randle and what I've seen out of him this year. His consistency hasn't always been there. So what can be consistent is Chet being almost 7'5" or whatever Chet is, and he's going to be a rim protector for them, and he's going to play his defense, he's going to get his rebounds, he's going to put some shots back off the glass. So with that matchup, I'm giving that to Chet and Oklahoma City Thunder on that one. I think that he's the better out of the two players on the court there for their team. Small forward there, you have Jalen Williams. He's going to be going up against, it looks like, I want to say Jaden McDaniels would be their 3 over there in Minnesota. So Jaden McDaniels, he grew about 2 inches, they said, over the summer. So he's about 6'11". So he's definitely a force on defense. And his offensive game is not anything to sneeze at there. He can play ball there. Of course, Jalen Williams, all-star. So when you're just matching them two up there, Jalen Williams had a great game the other night against Denver. And he had a bounce-back game because he had a rough game the night before that. But with all that being said, all-star against another all-star, I got to give the edge to the all-star there for Oklahoma City. All right, so we're going to keep on going down the list here. And, of course, Minnesota, they got to have a point guard, right? So they roll out Mike Conley. Now, when you start talking about Mike Conley going up against SGA is the point guard over there, but we already canceled him out with Ant, so we had to move some pieces around here. And I guess it's going to be Lou Dort going up against Mike Conley because, of course, both of them are defensive-minded players. Lou Dort, could be the defensive player of the year at his position for sure. Mike Conley, same thing for him. Both of them play defense. But, of course, Lou Dort and his scoring there, his three-point shooting prowess has been on display all year. I think Lou Dort's going to continue that. Of course, against Minnesota, they'll let you shoot now. That's for sure. Minnesota isn't always tight on defense. So if that's the case, Lou Dort, there was a period of time during the year where you could take him every single game to go for at least three-pointers in that game. So with that being said, I'm giving that edge to Lou Dort. Oklahoma, they can rotate some people around there. They have Case and Wallace to throw in the game. They have quite a few players they can put in the game there. So I'm just going to leave it at those top 4 players there for both teams. Of course, Minnesota, they have a few players coming off the bench that we probably should talk about. Naz Reid is pretty much their 5th starter, essentially, but he comes off the bench and chips in for them and does his thing. So, I mean, you have Naz Reid going up against basically a whole group of Oklahoma City players that can come in and pretty much do their thing on the court. They all pretty much plug in, play defense. You have Alex Caruso, like I said, in the game. So when you start talking about benches here, you got Naz Reid against all of this over here. I'm definitely feeling like Oklahoma City's bench is going to outweigh what Minnesota's bringing to the table. So once again, I'm putting all of these different things in a bowl, and I'm mixing it up here, and I'm giving you my pick. And so my pick, most definitely, with all that being said, and Oklahoma being the top defensive team in the league all year long, covering spreads all year long, and absolutely just putting the Joker out of the playoffs. And that was a big, big series that they won there. I think that momentum's going to continue here. I think we're going to see Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals here. That's the 410's pick here once again. I see OKC. I don't know how many games yet. If you want me to say, hey, man, you had to pick how many games, shoot. I'm almost willing to say OKC in 6. It could be a very quick series if Ant and them don't come to play, because these young boys, if you didn't watch them play the other night, they're very, very hungry. I'm going to give you the pick tomorrow for that New York-Indiana series. Thank you for your time today. Of course, go O's. I'm sitting here checking the ticker. We're still sitting here at 0-0, so no draw of blood yet. But, of course, I hope that at the end of the night, I'm giving y'all some highlights in the morning, because I have not given you a highlight, an Orioles highlight, in a week. And I feel like it's the off season at this point. All right, guys, come on now. You got to win one for the city. Adrian's sitting here, beating on the table, saying whatever y'all got to do, get it done. We need this to be fixed right now. I'm telling you, I saw all them sad faces down at the stadium. My goodness, if you guys do not put on a W before you get back in town, I'm going to get a conglomerate down here at the stadium, and I'm telling you, it's going to be loud and obnoxious. I promise you that. Anyways, once again, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, subscribe to this thing here. I'm continuing to do all I can do to bring this to you the best I can here. Once again, like, share everything you can find here. I'm doing all I can. Like I said, O's, do all you can. That's all I'm asking. Do all you can do to bring us home a W. Do not come back in town and tell us that you could not go on the road and win at least one game, y'all. My goodness, it hurts to watch this here. I've never seen anything like this in Baltimore. I'm hoping this thing gets fixed right away. Once again, this is Adrian here on the 410. Enjoy the game tonight. Big game tomorrow. Everybody, of course, tune in. We got to keep it rolling here on the 410. If you haven't already, check in with your family and friends. This is Adrian once again on the 410.